And so if you were on the job and you noticed that everyone on Fridays got an opportunity to dress in a business casual manner, if and only if you could do that. But for this training today, this meeting today, let's just look at the right side, business professional, because that's where most of you are going to be when it comes to the job interview, as well as how you want to look and present yourself as you go to work every day. You can see for the young lady, she has on a business type of suit with matching jacket and slacks, and she has on a white top. You want to make sure your colors are very neutral, when, especially when you go to the interview, but also as you pursue your employment. She has on very, very comfortable shoes. They're professional, but comfortable, because you never know when you go on an interview if you're going to have to walk a good distance, or if you want to also make sure that you're comfortable and you want to appear comfortable when you are speaking to an employer. On the right side for the young men, also a jacket, matching slacks, and hard-soled dress shoes. You want to, again, keep your colors neutral. You want to keep black, navy blue, or gray as your colors. And you notice he has on a white shirt and a tie. And we will have a module down the road if you join us for one of our job readiness academies. For you young men who do not know how to tie a tie, we will show you. Next, please. All right, now here's some examples of young men in the proper attire and what to wear. Now, these young men already have employment. I'm bringing that out now because typically neither myself nor Mr. Johnson would recommend a suit that's of a lighter color. And so, but these young men came, they were already employed and they came professionally dressed nonetheless. For the job interview, just look at the grays, the navy blues, and the blacks. That's how you want to perform. And just about everyone is wearing a white shirt and a tie with dress shoes on. You want to make sure that your shirt has a collar, young men. You don't want to wear something that would not have a collar. Number one, it wouldn't look appropriate with a tie. And number two, it wouldn't be professional with regards to the job interview. If you don't have a tie, I'll show you some examples of how that can still look appropriate for the interview, but you want to do your best to wear a tie along with that shirt with a collar. Always slacks, no jeans. Never jeans. Did I say that loud enough? Never jeans under any circumstances, all right? Whether it be for the work site daily or whether it be for the interview, especially not for the interview. And again, shoes, no sneakers. No sneakers. Did I say that loud enough too? No sneakers. And so just make sure that you always wear slacks, shoes, shirt with a collar, tie preferable. Those four things. And then you can see at the bottom an example of a young man. He's talking to someone professional and he's looking professional as well, even intent on the job opportunity he's being offered right across the table. So you know it's a good sign when the employer pulls out his laptop or tablet and shows you the job. You know that that's a good sign. Next, please. Now, what about the young ladies? So same thing. You want to make sure that you keep your colors as neutral as possible. You want to try to wear dark shoes and no open toes. That way it keeps into a business professional style. Again, once you gain employment, if there's a dress code, and sometimes you can even find out the dress code, we'll talk about that later when we get into the interview, by looking at the employer's website. Otherwise, you'd want to go with this format. Jewelry in moderation. So, you know, your watch, maybe a ring, possibly a necklace, but not necessarily even a necklace. Keep your jewelry in moderation, especially for the interview, but also depending on where you might work, especially if you work in construction or healthcare, then it might be for safety reasons where you wouldn't want to wear a lot of jewelry as well. But for the interview, keep it modest. Skirt or dress slacks, very, very important. You want to make sure that you wear neutral colors and you wear either a suit, pantsuit, dress, or skirt suit, or you want to wear dress slacks. And as you can see there, a two-piece suit. And you can see all of the young ladies throughout this picture are actually dressed very similar to the way we described it here in the presentation. And these are all youth workers. The picture on the right actually is an interviewer interviewing a male. So that picture actually could have gone on the previous slide, but it gives you an example to see how a professional employer might look when you walk into their office as well. Next slide, please. Now, young men, I told you I was going to show you a way where if you just didn't have a tie and or you didn't attend one of our seminars and you didn't get shown how to tie a tie, the gentleman in the middle, that's passable because he does have a shirt on with a collar. He has on gray slacks, white shirt, so that's passable. But you really want to try to focus your dress pattern the way you see the young men on the left and on the right. You know, neutral colors, shirt with a collar, tie, shoes with a sole, and dress shoes. And during our job readiness sessions, we don't tell you to go out and buy, a $500 suit or $100 shoes. We actually give you examples for how you can prepare yourself for just $10 to go on any job interview. As a matter of fact, I mentioned uniform. Mr. Johnson, who you met earlier, our job coach at YouthWorks Private Sector, likes to call it the interview uniform. When he would have an interview, he could always just go in the closet and pick out that uniform, that outfit that he had already designed and picked up so that he's always prepared. And we will go over those types of things with you as well. Next one, please. Young ladies, these are some don'ts. We're not picking on you. We're going to show the men too, but you want to make sure that you keep your dress modest. Again, no jewelry, and length of skirt or dress is very important. Accessories. You don't want to take attention from you. You want to shine, and we want you to shine. We want the employer to see the you, not the things that you're wearing. And you never want to go to work, job interview. You always want to make sure that your attire is wrinkle-free. So just make sure that you prepare the night before. Again, if you have it hanging up in the closet as your interview uniform, just make sure that it's carefully pressed and wrinkle-free. Next, please. Young men, some don'ts for you. And the real don'ts are on the right-hand side. The left is an example of someone who's on an interview, neutral color suit, gray, matching tie, white shirt, dress shoes. Okay. On the right, you never want to go with a sweater that doesn't have a collar. What could be acceptable would be a turtleneck. We don't recommend it, but that potentially could be acceptable as long as it's a dress type of turtleneck, long sleeves. But try not to even go there. Go with a shirt with a collar. But you would never want to dress on an interview where it's sort of a multi-print type of an outfit, no collar, khaki shoes, khaki slacks, I'm sorry, and no socks. Even in the summer, you want to wear socks and or some type of hosiery on the job interview. And by all means, you would never go and roll up your pants, okay? And we even have techniques how we would show you if it's too long, you can roll it upwards, but you never want to roll it out like you had on a pair of jeans. And then again, the shoes, you want to make them business professional. Next, please. So we've got some bonus coverage for you. I told you that you might get an opportunity to learn some more about what you would actually do and say on the interview. And by the way, we have enough time once this is complete to take questions. And I see some of you are even sending questions into the chat to Miss Adenike, but we'll make sure that we stick around. But before you go, we've got some bonus information for you. And I'm going to turn it over to our job coach, Mr. Timothy Johnson, to continue with the interview.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. And thank you, young people, for attending today's workshop. And we look forward to continuing to work with you all throughout the summer. Also, make sure that you do your YouthWorks application. You have to go to youthworks.oedworks, and we'll put that in the chat, youthworks.oedworks.com, in order to do your YouthWorks application. So we want to be sure that you do that because we want to see all of you all in our program this summer. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on. All right. Before the interview, one thing about the interview. Now, of course, in this series, what we talked about earlier, we talked about sending the resume. That was one of the first things that we did. Now, Mr. Walker just talked about the types of clothing and everything that's appropriate to wear to an interview. Now we're going to talk about some other things regarding the interview, because the goal is to get in front of the employer. Now, we know nowadays many of the interviews will look like what we're doing now, where we doing virtual as opposed to in person. But there will be a time that we will be getting back to in person, and then so we want to make sure that these things are practiced. First of all, once you realize you have an interview, you want to be sure that you find out something about that company. There's no reason whatsoever for you to go to an interview of a company, and when they ask you, tell me a little bit about what you know about us, you sit there and say, I'm not sure, because during Mr. Walker's day and my day, we literally had to go down to the library. We had to find out through magazines and everything about what a particular company did, as well as, in many cases, some of the stuff may have been 5, 10 years outdated. You know, the company may be selling computers now, and they be and the library may say that they used to sell typewriters, but now you have the internet. And with that internet, you have the ability to research any and every company by Googling that company immediately. So there's no reason why you shouldn't know something about the company. Prepare questions to ask the employer. You want to ask that employer some intelligent questions. No, not the first question being how much I'm getting paid or when is payday. That shouldn't be the first question. You may be able to do that down the road, but not the first question. You know, one of the questions I always encourage young people to ask is, can the employer give you an example of a typical work day? You know, and so that employer might say you come to work at 9 o'clock, you check your emails and things of that nature, you respond to those emails, then you have to work on, maybe you have a meeting or whatever. They may give you an example of what is a regular day. Practice with common interview questions. We have some interview questions, and during our job readiness training classes that we are inviting all of you 16 and over who do their YouthWorks application, we're going to invite you to our job readiness. We literally go over some questions, some common interview questions, some questions that they may ask you, like, tell me a little bit about yourself. That's the number one question in some form that the employer is going to ask you. And one of the things that I always say, just to give you a little preview of our job readiness, is you want to tell the employer your name. You want to tell the employer what school you attend. You want to tell the employer what your interests are as far as employment or career interest. So if you don't know anything else, you can say, my name is Tim Johnson. I attend Lake Clifton Senior High School, and I'm interested in becoming an engineer. You know, and that, if nothing else, now you could expand that if you like to, or you can, but at least minimally you can say that. Okay. Then, of course, you want to print multiple copies of your resume. Because one of the things I know a lot of people say, well, I sent the resume to the employer. He or she may not have necessarily downloaded it. They may not have printed it out. So as well as there may be multiple individuals that you're interviewing with. So even if the individual that you initially sent the resume to has a copy, you may be actually in a interviewing panel situation where there's maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people interviewing you at the same time. So you want to be able to give them that. Common interview questions. Like I said before, tell me a little about yourself. You need to be able to answer that. Unless I stated before, your name, the school you attend, and what is a particular goal of yours or interest of employment. What makes you the best person for the job and why I should hire you? You should know. And I'm just like I say, this is not all of job readiness, but just to say, you should say something positive about yourself. What makes you the best person? I'm hardworking. You know, I'm punctual. I'm reliable. Those are things that the employers that we work with are interested in hearing because they know that many of you, because you're 16, you're 17, you're 18, you don't have a whole lot of work experience. Your resume is not going to be 2 pages long about all the different work you've done. But if you can say, look a person right in the eye and say to them, I am reliable. I will come to work every single day and on time. That is what the employer wants to know about you. Why do you want to work here? Now, because you have done some research regarding that company, now you can give them a credible answer when it says, why do you want to work here? Well, Mr. Employer, I understand that you all have been manufacturing computers for the last 25 years, and I've always been interested in computers, and I'm very much interested in working with you all because you're the best at it. Boom. That they like you hired. What are your strengths? You want to, your strengths are I'm reliable, I'm hardworking, I have computer skills, I'm exciting, I'm teachable. You want to be teachable because employers like people that they can teach that whatever the issue is or whatever the things they're trying to teach you. What are your weaknesses? You do not want to go into an interview and tell people you're lazy. Oh, sometimes I don't want to work. Sometimes I don't like to get up. No, you don't want to tell anybody that. Even if that's true, you don't want to tell anybody that. You want to say to the employer, well, one of the things that I find that I'm too detail oriented. You know, no employer, oh, he's detail oriented. You may seem like that I'm too detail oriented as somebody who is that's a weakness, but an employer like, oh man, I like people who are detail oriented. So you want to come up with something like I'm too detail oriented. I'm a workaholic. I'm the type of individual that must complete the job. So that's in your mind that's a weakness, but in the employer's mind that's something they like to see. Some good questions to ask. All right. Can you describe a typical workday? I said that earlier. Work week or for the gist job. What immediate projects or tasks would you have me doing? What types of things you're gonna have me doing? You want to know whether they're gonna have you, cleaning the bathroom or you're gonna be working on a computer projects. You like not that there's anything wrong with cleaning the bathroom or anything wrong working on computer projects, but you know which job that you're most interested in at that particular time. So you like to know what it is. What's your favorite part about working at this company? This is what you're asking your interviewer. And the interviewer, I can tell you many times they might say, oh, they have very good benefits. They may something to the effect of they have a lot of teaching opportunities, a lot of training opportunities, whatever it is, but you like to know what they are. And when will you be making your hiring decision? They may say after you've done such a great job interviewing, they may say right now we want to hire you right this moment. But if that's not the case, you would like to know whether or not they're looking to do this within a week or within a couple of days, or and how would they be contacting you if and when they hire you. The interview. All right, now you're looking good. You have your resume. You ready to go. You've done some research. And now you're ready to go to interview. All right, you want to arrive between 5 to 15 minutes early. You do not want to be a half an hour, 45 minutes, because it's not necessarily that they have one where they have somebody there for you or a place for you to wait. A lot of times nowadays, companies don't necessarily have a waiting room. And now, of course, with virtual or with coronavirus situation, if you do a physical in-person interview, I guarantee you they won't have a waiting room for you to sit in and wait for your interview to arrive. And many times, so when you want to arrive 5 to 15 minutes, now I know some of you, if you do a on in-person interview, you may need to catch the bus, of which you may not have a whole lot of control at what time how early you are. If that is the case, then you want to be early and not late. So if you have a choice between being there half an hour early or 5 minutes late, you take the half an hour early. To get on the bus that's going to get you there half an hour early, not the bus that's going to get you there 5 minutes late. Okay. All right. During the interview, you want to make eye contact. You want to look a person right in the eye when you are talking to that individual. Um, it is very important that you do that, because looking someone in the eye, it gives them a sense of that, one, that you're paying attention to what they have to say, two, that they are that you are believable or you're trustworthy. People who many times, especially in our generation, Mr. Walker, in our generation, we, if you can't look me in the eye, I have difficulty trusting you. Okay. So if I'm talking to you and you looking down, you looking across, you looking everywhere, but directly in my eye, I tend to believe or begin to think, hey, this young person may be telling me a lie. And if you are lying about something here, what about your resume? Your resume with all these nice and wonderful things you told me about you, maybe that's not the truth either. So it's important that you do that. You look me straight in the eye. You want to use a firm handshake. All right. A firm handshake. And that's important that you do that. Not trying to wrestle with the individual or throw them down on the ground or prove who's the strongest or whatever like that, but just a firm handshake. Remember, of course, appearance is everything. You want to make sure that your appearance is correct, and you want to relax and smile. No one wants to hire a gloomy, sad looking individual. They want happy people. Even sometimes the employer will pick a person over happy person over a gloomy person, even if the gloomy person's resume may be a little better than the happy person, but the employer like, I don't know if I want a negative attitude around me. So you want to be upbeat and happy. You don't have to be going crazy or whatever, but you want to smile and you want to present a pleasant view. All right, let's see here. Mistakes to avoid. You want to avoid fidgeting or playing with your hair. I know some of you may have a long hair or even short hair. Sometimes I know I find myself sometimes have to realize, I'll go to, just brush my head or something just to see if everything is in place or whatever. You don't want to do that in the midst of an interview. You don't want to be playing with your hands, playing with an ink pen, playing with your phone, things of that nature also. Not smiling. Of course, you want to avoid not smiling. We talked about that. You want to avoid not making eye contact, not knowing enough about the company. We can't say that enough. You, of course, have done your research and you know a good deal about this particular company. And bad posture and slumping. You don't want to slump down and, be slumping in your seat or things of that nature, because that's not a good look. Put it that way. It's just not a good look. And one other thing that may not be on here, you do not want to have your phone in your hand, as well as when you go into the interview. Into the interview, you want to shut your phone off. Okay. Realize that this interview is only going to be about 10 to 15 minutes or so. You do not want to. I know sometimes people say, well, can I just put my phone on vibrate or whatever? We all know that when you feel your phone vibrating or you hear your phone vibrating, you automatically focus your attention on that. You may not answer it, but you may be in the middle of something, and if your phone in your pocket vibrate, you're going to automatically begin to feel for your pocket or something of that nature. So the best thing to do is to literally shut your phone off when you go into an interview. That way, you're not. It won't take it won't be a chance that you might be distracted by your telephone. All righty. And if you take a look at this, this is I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but this is a picture that shows different mistakes and things that are made at an interview. And as you can see, the way we dress, act, and walk through the door, 55% of the employers that we talk to said it's important to be dressed correctly. 70% employers claim that don't want applicants to be fashionable or trendy. When you go on an interview of companies, they're not looking to see that you have the finest of attire on or whatever, unless you happen to be going in for a model job. If you going in a job, you going to be a model, then by all means, dressed as a model would. But other than that, you want to dress the way that Mr. Walker talked about, because you don't want the employers to be discussing what you had on and how much jewelry you had on. You want them to talk about your really nice answers, your really intelligent answers, and how well you paid attention in the interview and things of that nature for your to be. And as well as even over here, says 38% wouldn't hire somebody because of a lack of a smile. 67% failure to make eye contact. That goes to show you how important eye contact is, that the companies really want you to make eye contact. Okay? And I just want to thank you all for your time, your attentiveness. And then if there is any questions, I want you to put them in the chat, and we will be glad to answer them either about the interview itself or about the clothing. Okay. All righty. And I'm looking at the chat. Mr. Walker, did you see anything that?
No, I think between myself and Ms. Adenike, we covered the questions that were asked. I'm not sure if I missed anything. Adenike, did I get everything?
Yes, you did get everything. I don't know if it would be helpful. Oh, there's one that just came in. Where can we do our resume? And so Mr. Walker, Mr. Johnson did that session last week, and I will put the video link in the chat so that way you can take a look at that video. And you can also reach out to us and let us know how we can support you with that. But your counselors and your teachers are also great resources to help you with that. Another question that came in is there such a thing as too much eye contact?
No. No, I would say, I mean, if you staring at them like, leaning forward and staring and stuff like that, it's something. But casually looking at at your interviewer, especially when you are talking, because one of the things that we have found in doing job readiness training for years and years and years is that most of us are very good at eye contact when we are listening to someone. But when we begin to talk, we sometimes trail off and things because we're thinking. We're thinking about what we want to say and we're trying to convey it. So we looking up in the ceiling and we starting to do. So what you want to do, you want to practice looking and having eye contact even when you are speaking. Okay? And just like to throw in that practice. When I said practice, you can when you get up in the morning to brush your teeth and wash your face, you can look right in the mirror and practice. Hey, how you doing? I'm Tim Johnson. Good to meet you. Look yourself right in the face. I know the people outside the bathroom and in your house going to think you crazy talking to yourself, but it works.
Tim, we got a question. What are the proper colors to wear for a job interview?
Oh, fantastic. Um, as far as the colors are concerned, at the um, top portion of a man or woman, it can be either one, a white, a light blue, or a light gray shirt and or blouse. That's the top portion. The lower portion would be navy blue, black, or dark gray, and in some cases khaki color, because many of our employers know that some of the young people would be coming for interviews. They're coming from school, and we're talking about when regular school starts and you back in school or whatever, whenever that happens. um, so your employer knows, so you may actually have your uniform on sometime, because we may schedule something, and you may get scheduled, it's scheduled for 3:30, and you get out of school at 2:30, so you may have to wear your uniform. But for in general, you want to have a white or white top, light gray or light blue top, dark color pants, either black, navy, or dark gray lower portion, either dress or pants. And then of course you a dark color, either blazer. If you're wearing a blazer, a jacket or something, it would either be dark blue, black, or navy, or dark gray.
So, Mr. Johnson, I do have a question for you, because I know the hardest interview question that I have, that I always have a challenge with, is to tell me about yourself. And I know you went over it a little bit, but do you have any guidance for when students are answering that question, or like a 1, 2, 3, to make sure that they're hitting all the areas?
Yep. Yep, 1, 2, 3, and basically it's like that. The one thing you want to say is when they ask that question, my name is Tim Johnson. I attend Lake Clifton Senior High School, or if you have graduated, I graduated from Lake Clifton Senior High School, and I'm currently interested in becoming an engineer, or if you're in college, I'm studying engineering in college right now. Now, if you want to add something to that, and my favorite hobby is playing basketball, or during my free time, I like to build computers or something of that nature. So your name, the school you either are attending at the present time or have recently graduated from, your interests. I'm interested in becoming an engineer, or I'm interested in working in the office environment. I'm interested in working with computers. And maybe if you want to go a little step further, maybe a hobby or something that you like to do. I'm love to bowl. One of my favorite things is to bowl, or one of my favorite things is to ride horses, something of that nature. That starts it rolling. That starts the conversation, especially if you're not sure what you want to do, what you want to say, because that is always a question. When people are asked that, you sort of caught off guard. Okay, what do I tell them? So if you get in the habit of saying your name, school you attended or currently attending, what your interest is as far as what day what you want to be when you grow up, or what you're studying in college or something of that nature. And then one positive thing, hey, I love to roller skate. Roller skating is my life.
So I don't know, Mr. Walker, do you want to ask the next 3 questions, or you want me to just go ahead? You're on mute. I'll help out. So the next one is, are students with a disability, is the interview modified? So if you select that you do have a disability, how does the employer accommodate that during the interview process?
Mr. Walker, I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. In many instances, if you can remember with your YouthWorks application, maybe you haven't done it yet this year, but in past years, there's a section which says accommodations. This year it says work accommodations, and it would identify areas where you might need assistance, whether it be with mobility or whether it be with hearing. And you would actually complete that portion, yes or no, and then it would give you an opportunity to choose which option. Um, then that would be a way that it would be designated to where you would go next or how the interview would take place. And then we would communicate with you. If not myself and Mr. Johnson, other staff members would communicate with you on that as well to make sure that the employer can hear you and see you and get everything from you, the best of you. Hope that answers your question.
The next one is, what jobs are available to work at during the pandemic?
So YouthWorks 2021 will, for the most part, be conducted virtually. So that's why the Baltimore City Public Schools last year worked with us to try to get computers in the hands of every young adult, and also to try to ensure that they had their proper internet connections, because 99.9% of YouthWorks will be conducted virtually in a variety of positions. It doesn't just mean that it will be only for academic enrichment. A lot of it will be for workforce enrichment, and for private sector, you would most likely be doing something specific to an employer. The University of Maryland last year, for example, you did items where you worked to build your workforce skills, and then you also did projects that helped the community. As a matter of fact, one of the projects that were conducted virtually actually went downtown to the mayor's office, and it was immediately worked on. So you'll be doing a variety of different types of positions. We're just getting started with the outreach for employment. So I can't give you an exact, okay, you're going to be a carpenter, you're going to be an IT professional, you're going to be an architect, but you can be rest assured that you'll have an opportunity to either work in your specific area of career interests or at a work site that is virtual and can allow you to foster and spread your wings and advance your career skills in that manner.
Awesome. So is the interview virtual? And I think you guys talked about that it will be virtual, right?
Right, right. Majority of for private sector is where you typically would be doing interviews. So if you are chosen and you decide to come with private sector, then those are the companies that in the past have done interviews. And if there are any interviews done this year, it would be most likely virtual interviews.
Okay. The next one is, where do we submit our resume? I don't know if you guys want to put the link back in the chat for where students should go
So
to.
that was how you create a resume. To submit your resume, you'll have two options. One, and that's why I encouraged the individual that asked earlier to watch those how-to videos when you first log on to the YouthWorks application portal. Keep in mind, in most years past, you were actually sitting in front of someone. They were completing a lot of these items for you. So we don't want you to go into it unawares. So we created 4 new videos, plus we had 2 from previous years to explain how to get all the documents. But you'll have an opportunity to upload your resume as part of your YouthWorks application. You would actually, when it gets to that section, it would actually be a drop down, and one might say I-9, one might say your MW 507, one might say social security card, and then there'll be another one which says resume. So you would click the drop down, click resume, and then upload your resume in that fashion. Mr. Johnson and I and our team will actually also, for private sector participants, be receiving the resumes another way, directly from our workshops. You heard us talk about our job readiness academies. That's a requirement in order to participate in private sector. You must submit a resume, but everyone has an opportunity to submit their resume at the time of their application just by going to the forms that need to be completed. Click the drop down and choose resume, and then upload your resume.
I don't know, Mr. Walker, Mr. Johnston, is it possible for you to share that screen so students can see like what the website looks like and those two and where the videos are, if it's convenient?
All right, I'll pull it up.
Okay, and I'm going to ask
No, we were not officially prepared. I'm actually logged in through Facebook.
It's okay.
Challenges with getting into Zoom.
You can do it at the next one if you want to.
Oddly enough, the presentation that you got by mistake is a presentation on the application. And it does show you exactly answer to that question. You would go to the library for forms, and that's where you would receive access. But that's why it's important to watch the videos before you do anything else, because it'll take you step by step on to what to do next. So we really, really, really encourage that.
Okay. If you want me to go to a website to share my screen, I can do that as well, whatever works for both of you. The next question is, can I work with YouthWorks and another job at the same time?
You can only work one YouthWorks job at a time under any conditions, whether you're working with the private sector or the host side, as we talked about earlier. You can only work one YouthWorks job. But if your hours allow it, then you can work as many jobs as you possibly can. But you cannot work a job while YouthWorks is in session. YouthWorks, your worksite supervisor might have you working from 9:30 to 1:30 or 9:30 to 2 with a half-hour lunch. And so you couldn't be working another job during that time, right? Because you're working at YouthWorks. But if your job doesn't start until 3, then of course you could clearly work more than one job.
Okay. I love Zion's question because I've heard this question before. If you have piercings, will that hinder your availability for that job?
Well, piercings like in your ears, or are you talking multiple piercings and maybe in the lips and the nose?
So let's say facial piercings. Like
facial piercings, right?
Mhm.
We recommend that you reduce as many of those piercings as you possibly can when you're doing the interview. Of course, it's because what the interview represents is you want to be as, for lack of a word, vanilla as possible when you're going into an interview, because you don't want that interviewer to be focused in on anything else other than what you have to say as far as your questions are concerned and what your resume conveys. That's what you want them to focus on. So you don't want them to focus on the fact that you have multiple piercings, or that you have a whole bunch of jewelry or anything of that nature that would distract an interviewer. So as much of the piercings that you can reduce during that period of time, the better.
Is that the same for hair color?
Yes.
Or, okay. Any guidance on hair color, like what we should avoid?
I would say that anything that tends to be not the natural coloring. I mean, some people's hair is red. Some people have red hair, but blue is not a natural color. Purple is typically not a natural color. Something of that nature, which typically would not be a natural growing color on any individual, would be something that you want to avoid when you go into the interview.
Okay, thank you. So guys, I'm at your website. You can, I'm just gonna go to youth, right?
Mhm.
Right.
And this is just giving them I guess just an update on the dates and everything.
So I will be honest with you, Anike, that's one thing I will mention is that's typically what will happen with a young adult. They'll click and they'll go right down the page. But it is very, very important for the young adult to read. It's a very small paragraph. If you read through these 6 sentences or 6 lines, it'll help you throughout the application. Yes, the date, June 28th, August 6th is in there, but it'll also set the tone for what you'll be doing the rest of your application period. And that's why we don't have the best colors, but it's, flashing purple and red, because we do want you to take a look at it, and we try not to inundate you with a bunch of information, but it is important. But you can scroll down.
Thank you. So definitely read this first, right, before scrolling down.
It's good to read everything here in all sincerity, because again, it's in large lettering and it's not a lot. And it'll help you a great deal in the application process.